Welcome to Zelda Universe TV, it's Zelda time! Welcome to the super fast edition of This Week in Zelda News. I'm your host Bastion, editor for the front page of Zelda Universe. This is the super fast edition because last week one of the commenters said, hey, you talked a little bit slow in this episode, could you maybe talk a little bit faster? So sure, why not? Let's do it. So our first bit of news concerns a Wii U patent that recently surfaced. What this patent shows is that Nintendo is thinking about a lot of different features that they have not yet related to the media about things like voice recognition, facial recognition technology, which would make also possible video phone abilities. One or more additional microphones may be provided on the front or back surfaces. It also says gun-style controller attachment, keyboard input, possible HD controller screen, and then also the possibility that that controller tablet screen might have the 3D abilities that the 3DS has. So that all sounds very exciting, but again, none of these are confirmed to actually be in the final device. These are just things that Nintendo included in the patent, so they're thinking about them. We'll have to wait and see at this coming E3 in June to see what exactly we're going to be getting. Our next piece of news is about Hyrule Historia. Throughout the past couple months, people have been scanning that bit by bit, the concept art from that, but a lot of people have been like, well, it'd be sure nice to just have a gallery to browse all of those scans. So the website History of Hyrule decided to do just that. They've scanned all of the concept of art and have arranged those in folders per game. So now you can go ahead and browse game by game, gallery by gallery, all of that interesting concept art. The next bit of news is a little self-congratulatory pat on the back for both Zelda Universe, but more importantly our forum member Saranilli. Cracked.com wrote an article about the 6 pop cultural mysteries solved by fans, and one of these was by our own forum member Saranilli. She's the person who was able to crack the Skyward Sword Hylian code and then made a font out of that. For those of you who aren't familiar with that story, basically the reason why it was such a problem is because it wasn't just a simple character replacing letters system, but there were several characters that replaced several letters each. So what would have otherwise looked like gibberish was actually not, because that same character represented several other letters. So way to go, Saranilli. For those of you who are always begging for a more difficult Zelda, you'll be kind of sad to know that there really was a more difficult version of Skyward Sword. In a recent interview, Miyamoto was talking about how the version of Skyward Sword that we've been playing was considerably different than the version that he played. He says that the prototype version was a lot more difficult, and he sort of referenced bosses in that sentence. Now, whether this actually means that the bosses simply dealt more damage or had more damage that you had to take off of them, or that it wasn't as tightly designed, because those are two very different types of difficult. We don't know, he didn't really elaborate, but it is interesting to think that somewhere over at Nintendo headquarters there's a more difficult version of Skyward Sword. Our next bit of news concerns the Gossip Stones that have appeared in pretty much every Zelda title since Ocarina of Time, but more specifically the type of Gossip Stones that appeared in Ocarina of Time 3D and also in Skyward Sword. These are the type that you can access video hints to show you how to solve puzzles if you get super stuck, or show you how to defeat bosses and so on. The reason why Miyamoto said in a recent interview that the reason why he created those was because he was aware of the fact that sometimes puzzles, certain types of puzzles, can be really difficult for any given type of fan to solve, and that he knows that a lot of people turn to the internet and go outside of the game and look up on websites how to do things like that. For instance, on our own fantastic Zelda Universe walkthrough of Skyward Sword, we felt like it would be much more interesting if that was all sort of self-contained within the Zelda world, so that's why he created those new types of Gossip Stones to allow you to not actually have to leave the game to get that sort of assistance that you might need. So that's it for this week in Zelda News. Not a whole lot going on this week. What you might have already heard me talk about several times, but I'm going to talk about it again anyway, is that over on my channel, ZU, I have a weekly video series going on called Games Like Zelda. What that is, of course, is right in the title. Each week I review a game that I played back in the past that at that time I felt was kind of like Zelda in some sort of way. So that's to help you maybe discover a new game that you might like, or simply to remember a game that you had enjoyed back then as well, like I did. So you can click right about here, and that will take you to the most recent episode. That's it for this week. See you guys next week. Also, truth be told, the reason why it's this Professor Edition is because I just did a complete recording of this, but forgot to turn the audio on, and so it caught no audio, so I'm going to get through this as fast as I possibly can. Cracked.com wrote an article about the 6 pop culture... Oh, my God. Cracked.com went ahead and wrote Cracked.com wrote an article about the 6 pop cultural and the recent Miyamoto, as opposed to those past Miyamotos.